decided that we had spoken so often about this, and we're just going to try to show to people what it feels like to have your voice taken, which is what the terrorists have done to our daughters. When your voice is taken,
we want our girls back now and alive.
That was a coordinator of the Bring Back Our Girls campaign speaking at a silent protest to mark the anniversary of the abduction of more than 200 Nigerian schoolgirls by Boko Haram. There is still no word on the location or well-being of the girls, and as citizens around the world gathered to honor them this week, many Nigerian families are still hoping and praying for their safe return. So how successful have the various campaigns been, and what more can be done to bring back our girls? I'm Beatrice Marshall. Welcome to Talk Africa. So more than a year after the abduction of more than 200 girls from Chibok in Nigeria, there is still very little known about their whereabouts. But does this look and sound familiar? The hashtag Bring Back Our Girls. Well, perhaps it does. Now, there aren't many campaigns that have attracted as much attention as this hashtag. Behind this hashtag is the perceived power of social media to help find and bring back home 276 Nigerian schoolgirls abducted by Boko Haram insurgents last April 14th. The campaign went viral on Twitter just days after it was launched, and one of the most enduring faces of the campaign is an Instagram post by US First Lady Michelle Obama. She's holding a poster with the hashtag Bring Back Our Girls. Now, the campaign appeared to force an initially reluctant President Goodluck Jonathan, the outgoing Nigerian president, to ask for international help. Now, 57 of the initial 276 girls made a daring escape from the insurgents. However, over 200 are still missing. The world has expressed its disappointment at the lack of action. Hollywood star Angelina Jolie said, and I quote, "Like everybody else, I'm absolutely sickened by it and the thought of them out there right now, terrified and being abused and sold." Nobel Peace Prize laureate Malala Yousafzai penned an open letter to the girls saying, and I quote, "Like you, I was a target of militants who did not want girls to go to school. I can see those girls as my sisters, and I'm going to speak up for them until they are released." End quote. From another Nobel laureate, this time for literature, Wole Soyinka, he said, and I quote, "We should join hands to make sure that such an assault on our humanity does not and will never happen again." End quote. Now, the question remains, has social media been useful in trying to find and bring back home the Chibok girls? Now, many people gathered in Nigeria and other locations around the world to mark the anniversary of the abduction and call for stronger efforts to ensure their return. Let's take a look at some of the actions.
It's been a year since Boko Haram shocked the world with the abduction of more than 200 schoolgirls. And in that year, some of these marches have returned every week to call for their release. But their call to action has been making fewer headlines as the months drag on. On 14 April 2014, 276 girls between the ages of 15 and 18 were abducted from their boarding school in Chibok, Nigeria. Some escaped in the initial days of their capture, but most remain in captivity. This video, released by Boko Haram a month after they were seized, is the only visual evidence of their survival. 219 girls took to the streets of Abuja on Tuesday, representing each of the schoolgirls that are still missing. They say that they will not be denied an education. But for parents like Chibok elder Enoch Mark, whose daughter and niece are amongst the captives, it's been a year of sadness and hardship.
we feel so bad, we feel so sad. Even my wife, she cannot just walk as she is. We are all uncomfortable. My wife, she is now under treatment. Almost, we are working with drugs in our hand. We chew drugs like food now. Drugs, we take drug more than the food or the water we take, since our daughter was adopted.
Over 100 children and members of the Bring Back Our Girls protest group also gathered on Tuesday evening to light candles and hold prayers in hope that the girls will be rescued alive. Further afield, similar events have been held in cities around the world. Protesters gathered outside the Nigerian High Commission in London, calling for the search for the girls to be intensified.
There's no way 200 girls can just go missing. They didn't disappear. They didn't just disappear from nowhere. They are somewhere and their lives are at stake here. Their families are not sleeping. Their families are sick. People are dying because of this. And we need something to be done. We believe something can be done.
Well, I'm here because I want everybody in the world to know what's happening in Nigeria and all over the world. And I want people to come and realise that you can help. You just need to demonstrate and you need to speak out.
In New York, the Empire State Building was lit up in red and purple in honor of the girls and remained illuminated until the early hours of Wednesday morning. Led by the former First Lady of France, about 30 demonstrators also gathered in front of Paris's Eiffel Tower, holding banners with the same message that's been broadcast around the world for the last year: bring back our girls.
It's first a tribute to the girls. Their families will surely hear at some point that in countries around the world there is a mobilization for them. It's very important that the families are supported, and we hope that one day there will be too when they come back. As I said, they are victims of terror attacks and former hostages. You should ask them how important it is for them that we were mobilized.
Incoming President Muhammadu Buhari has vowed to crush the militant insurgency and do everything in his power to save the girls. He has been honest, saying, "I cannot promise that the Chibok girls can be rescued." He admitted that they do not know the state of their health or welfare, or whether they are even still together or alive. But 1 year on, community members are still waiting in hope. Matthew Edwards, CCTV.
Well, joining me now from Lagos to broaden this discussion is Yemi Ademalekun. She's a Bring Back Our Girls campaigner. She's joining me from Nigeria. With me here in studio in Nairobi is Jane Sewanga. She's a project manager at Equality Now. Thank you very much for joining us here on Talk Africa. Yemi, I'll start off with you there in Lagos. First off, 1 year, the whereabouts of the 219 Chibok girls. What do we know about their whereabouts, their plight? What do we know 1 year on?
We don't really know that much, any more than we did probably about a year ago. All we know is that they were taken from school, 276 of them, 57 escaped on their own, and we're still looking for 219. There have been a few reports that some were found, or some people met some of them in different camps, but we really don't have anything authoritative about the whereabouts of the girls. It's
been 1 year, though, Yemi, of a heightened social media campaign, human rights activists campaign. But 1 year on, that doesn't seem to have had much impact. Can you assess for us the impact of that campaign?
Oh, without a doubt that it has been a lot of impact. I mean, this is the singular longest running advocacy campaign in Nigerian history. And the fact that in Abuja on a daily basis, for over 300 days, women and men gather together every day to update about what's happening with the girls, offer support to the families, offer support to the girls that did escape. In Lagos, Oshogbo and Ibadan, people meet every week. It is because of the pressure of the Bring Back Our Girls campaign that this issue has not dropped off the radar. Because as I'm sure you're aware, more people were abducted before the Chibok girls. More people have been abducted after the Chibok girls. But we are talking about the Chibok girls because 1 year on, people have refused to let Nigerians and the world forget that they were abducted. So the social media and the offline campaign has been extremely impactful. No one can take that away.
We're going to talk a bit more a little later on the others that have been abducted, and not much has been talked about that. But Jane, I want you to get your view on this, though. I mean, a year on, the girls are still missing. A year on, word about the girls is still out there on the radar, but the girls are still not back. What more could be done?
The girls are not back, and for that reason, we shall not relent. in terms of our campaigns to support our sisters, to support organizations based in Nigeria and across the world, really in calling for the release and return of these girls. What we can do, because we're not physically in Nigeria, what we're able to do is to offer the support in terms of giving out information to different bodies that we work with. I'm thinking here treaty monitoring bodies for within the United Nations, because we're asking them, really things have to come to an end and people must be held to account. Somebody somewhere needs to be held accountable for the fact that this has happened, for the fact that these girls are not yet back, and for the fact that the people behind it have not been apprehended and brought to book.
Is there something, though, that could have been done differently over the last 1 year?
Well, it's easy to say that looking back, you know, retrospectively, because all times we've always been hopeful. So we ourselves keep learning from the different interventions that we undertake. As we talk about this, one of the things that is yet to be done, perhaps, is the question of escalating the issue as far as the International Criminal Court is concerned. There's also discussions possibly around taking issues around the Chibok girls to court. But because they have not been done, it doesn't mean that people haven't thought about them. It's just that they're all manner of strategies. So at one point in time, one looks like the better one and you go for it, or several at the same time. So incrementally, if one doesn't work, then we look to another and another, so that we have a cumulative effect, both in courts and elsewhere.
All right, there is an incoming government now, though, in Nigeria, Yemi. And what is it that you, as a campaigner, though, what is it that Nigerians would want to see from the government as a result of what happened to the Chibok girls?
Well, the same thing. So, as we commemorated the 1-year anniversary yesterday across the country, we were quite clear that this present administration, as you rightly said, still has its responsibility to Nigerian citizens until May 29. Now, until then, we will continue to hold them accountable, continue to demand that they do all they can to find the girls and deal with the insurgency in the Northeast. However, if May 29 does come around and they have not been able to do that, the responsibility just rolls over to the new administration and the demands remain the same. They're the government of the day. They take on that responsibility once they come into office.
Well, Jane, it is the responsibility, though, of a government to protect its citizens. In the event that that doesn't happen, as happened with the Chibok girls and the others that Yemi there has been talking about, what is the way forward? What is the recourse there?
The responsibility on the government does not shift at any one time. So we cannot stop asking and actually demanding from the government. And what one of the courses of action that always remains is there is the option of going to court in the national courts. But again, that's a discussion that partners in Nigeria will have to have. But Nigeria is not an island. Nigeria is part of the international community. So the whole community of states, mostly brought together by the United Nations, they too have a responsibility. If something is happening next door, this is not the time to sit back, because surely when we talk of the rights of these girls and we talk about the responsibilities of the states, the same would apply across the world in whichever country. So a show of solidarity, which we have seen that mostly through the work of women's rights organizations. But perhaps if we could see a bit more of that in terms of other states also calling out one of their own, or alternatively offering that assistance.
All right, Jane, do stay with us. We'll continue with this discussion in a moment. But Yemi in Lagos, thank you very much for your insights and joining us there from Lagos. And when we return, we'll be speaking with Dina Musindawazo. She's the Executive Director of FEMET. Do stay with us.
To my brave sisters, the kidnapped schoolgirls of Chibok, on this first anniversary of your captivity, I write to you with a message of solidarity, love, and hope. My name is Malala. I'm a Pakistani girl of your age. I'm one of the millions of people around the world who keep you and your families foremost in our thoughts and prayers. We cannot imagine the full extent of the horrors you have endured. But please know this, we will never forget you. We will always stand with you. Today and every day, we call on the Nigerian authorities and the international community to do more to bring you home. We will not rest until you have been reunited with your families.
Well, that was the voice of 2014 Nobel Peace Laureate Malala Yousafzai reading the heartfelt letter she wrote to the missing girls. Welcome back to Talk Africa. Now, as the world remembers the fate of the Chibok girls, a new report by UNICEF puts the number of children displaced by the conflict in Nigeria at much higher than previously expected. Many of these are now living in camps in surrounding countries like Niger and Chad.
As fighting between Boko Haram military forces and civilian self-defense groups rages on in northern Nigeria, the violence has displaced more than 800,000 children in the region, according to the United Nations Children's Agency, UNICEF, released 1 year after the abduction of more than 200 schoolgirls in Chibok. The report, Missing Childhood, reveals that the number of children crossing over the border to Chad, Niger and Cameroon has more than doubled in just less than a year. This camp, located at 70 kilometers from Diffa City in the southeast of Niger, is home to 1,300 refugees. Half of them are children, leaving them exposed to abuse and violence. Easily exploitable, many are separated from their families as they flee the fighting. To help them cope with what they've been through, UNICEF set up a psychosocial support mechanism project, offering recreational activities to about 15,000 children.
We were at the Quranic school when we first heard the gunfire. The teacher told us that Boko Haram was here and he told us to run to the river. So we ran away. Our teacher started to cross the river and then he stopped to make sure that we could also cross. But we could not cross, it was too deep. Then a man came on a motorcycle. He said he wasn't from Boko Haram and he was looking for help. He asked us to come with him to look for food. When we got out of the water, he took out his gun and pointed at us, saying that he was Boko Haram. Then he took us.
Like Sani, many children say they witnessed many traumatizing events during the attacks. And while it's often hard to talk about the days they left their home, they've been encouraged to draw pictures in order to help them manage their trauma.
They came, shot people, and cut the throats of others. Here it's a member of Boko Haram burning a vehicle. Here it's someone who had his throat cut. There are burnt cars, and here are burnt phone antenna.
These activities allow the children's development and also allow us to detect children who are suffering, those who are receiving specific care.
The children also participate in group activities to help them express themselves, and they also channel their trauma through song and games. The Child Protection Program was also established and implemented in 8 different locations in the region.
Well, while Nigeria has vowed to intensify efforts to retrieve the missing girls, some of those that managed to escape have been offered a second chance at furthering their education. The American University of Nigeria has offered scholarships to 21 of the young women in an effort to help them better their lives after the ordeal. We sat down with the president of the university, Dr. Maggie Ensign, to find out more.
Well, I think the world felt both outraged and powerless just exactly a year ago when they were taken. And we're very close to Chibok. I have employees from that region, and one of them had a sister who had been kidnapped and who had escaped. So we sent a team back up last summer to see if any of them might be interested in coming to the university. And that's how the journey began with us. Our mission is different as a university. We're a development university, and we're in the right place for that mission because we have many development challenges. So when I was asked, could I try to take some of these young women and find scholarships for them, it seemed like the right thing to do.
And how are the girls coming along? How are they developing?
Well, so first, they're not girls. They're older. They're 16 to 19. They're really young women. And they've changed and grown a lot since they've been with us. The first day we picked them up and the first day they came, they were skinny and scared and not sure if they really wanted to be with us. Now they fit in our undergraduate population. You wouldn't recognize them. In fact, I had a group of reporters out recently and they walked by and said, "Good morning, how are you?" And someone said later, "Who was that?" I said, "Those were our Chibok students." So they're doing very well.
And what challenges have you faced with the Chibok girls who came from a place perhaps where there was no education to now being in an educational setting?
The challenge has really been trying to get it right for them and understanding what they needed the most. I think we have figured it out on the educational side. Despite the fact they were kidnapped the night they were taking their exams to go to university, most of them weren't ready, I'll be honest. So we had to quickly put together what we call a foundation program. We have a secondary school, so I've had those teachers deeply involved in making sure they really could speak English and they knew math and physics and chemistry and the things they need to pass those national exams. But their needs are not great, and so I think we're getting the educational piece right. We're now reaching out to their families because they are still experiencing tremendous loss. 2 of them had their fathers killed by Boko Haram at Christmas time. 1 of them just lost a mother to natural causes. So we are treating them like family and making sure that they get what they need to reach their dreams. And they're extraordinary. They all want to go back to Chibok and be doctors and start hospitals and be teachers and lawyers. So our whole goal is just to help them realize their dreams.
These are, of course, the ones who have managed to escape and the ones you've taken in. What can Nigeria and indeed the rest of the world do to help trace and bring back the Chibok girls who are still missing and possibly still in captivity?
Well, I think a positive thing is the change in administration that we'll go through here in a few weeks because of the elections. So I believe we'll have more of a commitment to trying to find them and bring them back. It's been a year. There have not been many signals as to where they are. Our Chibok students keep in touch with the others who escaped, and we're hoping to bring them to AUN once I raise enough funds. But there's been no word from the over 200 who are in captivity. So we hope and pray with the new administration they will really want to find them and make sure they're released.
Well, to continue this discussion in studio, I still have Jane Sewanga. She's a project manager at Equality Now, still with us here on the program. But I'm also joined by the executive director of Femnet, Dina Musindawazo. Dina, thank you for joining us on the program. As we've just heard, the scale of disappearances and abductions in Nigeria is actually much wider than we thought, not just the limited to the 200 girls, Chibok girls there. What is the situation as per your understanding?
Thank you. Of course, the situation of abduction of over 200 girls is really saddening for all the people, not just Nigerians, but beyond Nigeria, the African continent, but beyond Africa, also globally. And it is also saddening that it is 1 year and the girls up to now have not been rescued. We know that, the most important responsibility of the state is to protect its citizens and also to make sure that security and especially human security is provided for the citizens of different countries. But in the case of Nigeria, we saw really that this role was not fulfilled by the government of Nigeria,
right,
by the fact that, the response was very slow, as we have heard. And up to now, we don't see strong actions towards rescuing girls, and that's a sad thing.
All right, Jane, the problem, though, in the Western African region, Central African region, is much wider, though, but not much of the plight of the others has come to light.
Well, you're right, Beatrice, because subsequent to the abduction of the 276 girls, we see all manner of abduction, not just to girls, but to women, to men, to boys. And now some of the reports that are coming through, we have earlier this week, Amnesty International releasing a report in which it indicates that over 5,000 people have been killed in 2014 alone. You have situations where girls have been taken into sexual slavery. This is aside from those who had been initially kidnapped. We are talking about destruction, complete destruction of the towns in Borno State. So the scale of destruction goes on. The abductions continue, the killings continue. So really it's one thing after another, and really we're seeing an escalation. We must remember that Boko Haram has been, the violations perpetrated by them have been going on since 2009.
Right.
And so when you even go back as far as 2009 to 2014, what we're seeing is they are not relenting. They're actually going on, and they're getting more and more sophisticated, I would say.
What's been the impact, though, of the Bring Back Our Girls campaign, that awareness campaign about the girls? What's been the impact of that on raising awareness of the other plights?
Bring Back Our Girls, we have the social media campaign, for example. So what that is able to do is to keep the message out there that as long as the girls are not back, we shall continue with this, but also highlight the situation happening to the other people, highlighting also the families that were left behind, because we know that some of the girls, their parents have died, and it's been found that it's as a result of, say, the depression and just the anxiety that came over after the abductions. So in the social media campaigns, these are some of the things that we're able to highlight, but also in the campaigns, we're able to highlight the responsibility that the government of Nigeria has, the responsibility that world leaders have, because when you talk of these violations, we're talking of human beings. We're talking of young girls, adolescent girls, adult women, men, and children across the board, and that the world really must see this as an issue which is bringing us to a standstill. Really, because it starts in Nigeria. We do not know how far it will spread.
All right.
Yeah.
Let me put that to Dina, though. Do you think the international community, do you think the world has done enough to raise awareness about the Chibok girls?
Actually, the campaign has not been just online, but also offline. A lot of work has been done in terms of, of course, raising awareness and making sure that information is shared widely to ensure that everyone is aware of what is happening and what has happened in Nigeria, and in fact how it continues to impact on women and girls, but also the general society. And what we have seen is that we have also seen protests, physical protests that are happening in different countries. And what we did as Femnet, we mobilized our members from over 42 countries in Africa, in different African countries, to do protests at the same time and work to the Nigerian embassies in different countries and demand the government of Nigeria to do something about rescuing the girls. But also it is something that we are building on in different lobbying and advocacy that we do in different spaces, including discussions on developing the African Vision Agenda 2063, which is the vision really for the African citizens. And what we are saying in these spaces for, where policies are developed is that these policies must make sense for citizens of Africa in different countries. And in fact, if they don't touch the lives of citizens, then they are as well as being useless.
We'll leave it there for the moment. Jane Chawanga, Project Manager at Equality Now, and Dina Musinda Wazo, she's the Executive Director at Femnet, joining us here on Talk Africa. To you both, thank you very much for joining us here on the program. Well, that's all we have time for this week. My thanks to both Jane and Dina for joining us. Please do join us again next week on Talk Africa. Goodbye.